I gotta say, it's quite the contrast seeing the first American commercial for Mega Man 3. We went from, maybe we'll make a sequel, to here's the gaming event of the century. The magazine ads literally saying, Mega Man 3. Anything else you need to know? Like, I can't stress what a world of difference it was marketing-wise, to the point that Capcom basically made him their mascot.
In my beautiful balloon. Hey, Johnny Vegas here. I'm at Capcom and Mega Man. How you doing, Megster? All right, great. So you're going to show me something today? All right, Mega Man 3.
Good God, that costume is horrifying. This is the Mega Man you'd find in the friggin' back rooms. Either way, Mega Mania had finally arrived, everybody eagerly anticipating the next game in the series. Whereas Mega Man 2 had over 8,000 submissions for the boss design contest, Mega Man 3 had over 50,000. Quite the big jump in attention. However, the process would be a little different this time around since the game's original director, Akira Kitamura, would step away from the franchise and leave Capcom entirely. But not before handing a few ideas to his replacement, Masahiko Kurakawa, including one very special doggo and another super fighting robot. The goal was simple: do Mega Man 2, but better. And certainly, this game is much bigger, packed with more stages, bosses, and characters than ever before, which makes talking about all of it really difficult. Now, how am I going to handle this video all by myself? Well, don't you worry. Once upon a time, I helped someone else out with this exact same situation. And now, they're gonna return the favor. What do you say? Some call me Johnny?
No.
Sorry, what?
I said no. I'm not helping you with this.
John, my comment section was kind of looking forward to this. You know, because it's a throwback. We've done this crossover before. It's like poetry, it rhymes. Each stanza rhymes with the last one, you know.
Counterpoint, Clement. That was 13 fucking years ago. The Wii U wasn't even a year old back then.
Oh, Jesus Christ, it was 2013. Oh my God.
We're old as shit, man. I don't know if you noticed, but YouTubers don't exactly do collabs anymore. It's kind of outdated. People are here for you, not me.
Yeah, you make a compelling case there, John. It's definitely true. Is this because I didn't help out with your X6 video? I had tonsillitis!
Bitch, you screened my calls. And I lost all my hair, but you don't hear me bitching about it. Oh, God, it's gone. It's never coming back, is it?
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
Okay, so the premise of Mega Man 3 is that Dr. Wily has finally reformed from his evil ways and has become Dr. Light's partner once again. The two scientists have joined forces and have begun work on a very special robot named Gamma. This gigantic Gutsman lookalike is supposed to be a peacekeeping robot that will outshine Mega Man in every single way. Unless it needs to enter very small buildings, because holy shit! Why do we need to build the Iron Giant? If I didn't know any better, I'd say Dr. Wily is trying to build some new death machine that will help him conquer the world. Regardless, in order to function, this Titan needs special energy elements that can only be mined from different planets in the solar system. Being 20XX, space travel isn't that big of a deal. But tragedy strikes as all of the mining robots go berserk and start attacking people. Each facility now guarded by 8 new robot masters who all serve under a mysterious new villain. a super cool fighter named Breakman. So once again, it falls to Megaman, champion of justice, to head to these different planets and defeat these rogue robots. But don't worry, because he's not going alone, as now he's joined by a new canine companion, a robotic dog named Rush. A pupper who has the amazing ability to morph his body into both a submarine as well as a jet board. He even has a little spring in his back that can launch Megaman to higher places whenever he needs the boost. A lot of people like to think Rush was named after the Canadian rock band of the same name, but no, sorry, that's actually not true. Keiji Inafune clarified in a 2013 interview with Destructoid that actually, it's named after one of his favorite Capcom games, Rush and Crash. You see, the word rush sounds like rashu, rashi in Japan, and that is phonetically very similar to the name Lassie, as in the super famous television dog Lassie. Ain't that fun? So yeah, any similarities to music are completely coincidental, and it's just going for a doggy pun, as any great writer would. But yeah, folks, that is the setup for Mega Man 3, aka Rockman 3, the end of Dr. Wily? As in, the end of his evil ways, or that he meets his ultimate demise? If so, spoiler! I'd call this the worst subtitle, but we haven't gotten to Mega Man 10 yet. One of my favorite additions to this game is Mega Man being in the stage select screen. Instead of just having a plain Dr. Wily logo, Rock's actually looking at your cursor, wondering where you might be sending him next. Will it be Gemini Man, Hard Man, Magnet Man, Needle Man, Shadow Man, Snake Man, Spark Man, or Top Man, a robot who is the living embodiment of the dreidel? Whoever you choose, the Blue Bomber is much better equipped to handle things this time around. I've already mentioned Rush the Robo-Dog, and he basically replaces all of the items from Mega Man 2. As soon as the game begins, you have access to Rush Coil, allowing you to bounce off Rush's back to get to those hard-to-reach places. Whether you want to go along the top routes or grab an energy tank, it's nice to have that freedom from the get-go. But like the items, you can unlock new forms by defeating certain robot masters. I'd highly recommend battling Needleman first. He's not necessarily the easiest boss, but his stage does have an energy tank to ease the fight, and the reward for beating him is Rush Jet. This is by far, among the entire series, Mega Man's most broken accessory. You jump on Rush's back, and you can go wherever you want. Up, down, left and right, hovering in place, wherever you move the D-pad is where he goes. And when a game's entire gimmick is the whole platforming thing, this just smashes all of that to pieces. Oh look, it's the reappearing blocks again, but now magnets are pulling at you when you stand on them. I got Rush Jet, I don't need to do that shit! Oh man, these platforms rise to the ceiling, which is covered in spikes. You better move fast. Or, I could just skip it entirely. There is not a single platforming section it does not trivialize. You don't even have to worry about falling off. As soon as you ride the board, Rush locks in position to wherever Mega Man goes. So if you jump left, Rush still moves left even when separated. That means that whenever a dragonfly or a parachute guy shows up to ruin your fun, you can still stay on the board no matter how much they hit you. But even still, it doesn't last forever. It still drains energy to use, right? As long as Mega Man is standing on the board. Yeah, if you jump, the energy stops draining. So as long as you keep jumping the whole way, you can travel for much longer. This item is so good, it completely invalidates the existence of the other Rush form. You beat Shadow Man and you get Rush Marine, which is tailor-made to be used under the sea. Like Rush Jet, you can move Mega Man in any direction, as long as it's in the water. And Mega Man 3 only has 3 water sections, 2 of which are in Gemini Man's stage. Rush Jet can go anywhere, and it operates completely fine underwater. So why do I need the Marine when I can just use the Jet? When you were riding Item 2, when you were on top of the magnet beam, you had no defensive capability. The Mega Buster was shut off to perform those tasks. But with Rush Jet, you can still fire at anything in front of you like it ain't no thing. Unbelievable utility. It's absurd just how good Rush Jet is. One thing it can't do, though, is pass through walls, nor get you through very tiny corridors that Mega Man is a little too big for. So what's going on here? Well, Mega Man 3 has introduced a new ability. The Blue Bomber can now slide. Pretty self-explanatory, Mega Man can now get through tight crevices by doing this, and it gives you the quick burst of speed needed to dodge certain attacks. If you're in a tight corridor with Hammer Joe where there's nowhere to jump out of the way, you can slide to avoid the projectile. It makes an already quick game move that much faster, and it's just so fun to use. My favorite thing is that usually Mega Man will stand back up after a second of sliding, right? But when you're still in the low tunnels and you've got nowhere to stand, well, you just keep on sliding. You can do a complete 180 while down there, and as long as you haven't reached the exit, you will move indefinitely. Oh, look at him go!
That thing does not obey the laws of physics at all.
Look, kid, there's a lot going on here that you don't understand.
And finally, another change I like this time around is that Mega Man climbs ladders a lot faster. It was very slow in the first two outings, but now he's going up those things like he needs to use the bathroom. Overall, Mega Man feels so much more agile, so much better in general. At least, that's what I would like to say. But unfortunately, Mega Man 3 does have one major flaw, and it's the responsiveness of the controls. You know, it's interesting how many people thought I was being really kind when talking about Mega Man 1. For some reason, people have it in their heads that the original title controls badly, that the movement doesn't feel right. And I completely disagree. Mega Man has always been able to do his tiny little footsteps and shoot things at the exact moment he turns around. If I direct my shots left, then right, left, right, I can get them exactly where I need them to go. What people are actually referring to is the fact that he had a little forward momentum. When you walk and then stop, he slides like an inch forward. And it's really not much when you're comparing the slipperiness of Luigi or Sonic the Hedgehog, for example. Honestly, I only find it a little awkward for some of the lower platforms in Wily 2. Grabbing items down there keeps Mega Man moving, and because the area is so small, you'll likely fall off. Everything else, you're usually jumping from place to place, which doesn't leave any forward momentum at all. And that's always a valid option. If you don't want to slide the minuscule amount that he does, well, just jump then. Simple! Mega Man 1 controls perfectly fine, and Mega Man 2 was basically more of the same, but it got rid of the momentum. It was tight, and it's exactly the way Mega Man should be. So now we come to this game. When I try to shoot left, right, this is what happens instead. I swear, I'm not doing that on purpose. You can try it yourself. Mega just locks in a position when you're in mid-shoot. And this really affects the boss fights because I cannot tell you how many times I wanted to turn around and shoot the Robot Master only for Mega Man to shoot first and turn around like a millisecond afterwards. I miss shots all the time, and with how fast and erratic some of these Robot Masters are, that often spells my doom. I also find that Mega Man's jump is slightly heavier. Maybe it's just the gravity of all these different planets he's visiting. But the more likely reason was the troubled development. Back in 2007, Nintendo Power interviewed Keiji Inafune, and they inquired as to why Mega Man 3 was apparently his least favorite entry in the series. And he goes on to clarify that it's not about the quality of the game, but the absolute struggle it was to make it. Again, Akira Kitamura left Capcom and handed off the game to new planner Masahiko Kurakawa. However, he kept butting heads with the team, Inafune feeling that he didn't quite understand what made the first two games so good. Eventually, Kurakawa leaves the project. But look, this is a major hit for Capcom, and now we're on a deadline. Keiji Inafune had to pick up the pieces. He had to step in with level design and boss strategies, and the team only had 2 months to finish 50% of the job. It was a massive headache for everyone involved, and for Inafune, the game didn't live up to its potential. Knowing this, it's easy to make assumptions about what was possibly shortchanged. You'd be forgiven for not knowing the story of this entry, because this game doesn't even have an opening cutscene the way Mega Man 2 did. All we get is a plain black title screen, and that's it. I praised the stage select screen, but what's going on here? Why is the graphic all cut up and splintered? You gotta be careful on Snake Man stage, because these platforms just love knocking you off. The major antagonist of this entry is Breakman, and he actually shows up multiple times to battle Mega Man before you reach the Robot Masters. But it's a very simple fight. He jumps forward, shooting constantly, turning around whenever he reaches the wall. And that's it. He seriously doesn't do anything else, making it easy to slide under him and take pot shots from behind. And it's just one of those things where I can't tell if it was supposed to be this easy, or if the designers just didn't have time to make him more complex. It's a game with many quirks whose reputation only continues to grow. But that being said, I really want things to still be put into perspective. Inafune dislikes Mega Man 3 because of the development hell, not because of the finished product it ultimately became. When it comes to casual audiences, most people didn't know that Mega Man 3 was a pain to work on, and to this day, I still know tons of fans who consider it better than Mega Man 2, if not outright the best game in the series. Graphically, it's gorgeous. Snake Man stage is actually a themed fortress with snake turrets both small and large. Spark Man stage doesn't skimp out on the bright lights or animated background objects. I always thought Gemini Man stage was really cool. You start off on this crystallized surface and end up dropping into something of a living organism. I mean, after Breakman opens the way for you. Hey, he didn't even fight me this time. That was interesting. Anyway, the walls make up this life force, and this place is filled with egg sacs you need to shoot through, only to release ghost enemies every time you do. It's honestly one of the more striking, unique levels in all of Mega Man. And it doesn't slouch on the difficulty either. If you don't have either Rush Jet or Rush Marine, the platforms are so treacherous, with all of the dragonflies trying to run into you. But I like that. I'd rather the level design be interesting and challenging over bland and simple. I do think this game is overall harder than 2, primarily because of all the new enemies. Whether it's the invulnerable pole vaulting guys, the rolling porcupines who shoot spikes everywhere, or those goddamn bees, everybody is out to kill you.
No, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Open my eyes! Eyes! Ah!
I also think the actual Robot Master strategies are really good as well. I love the way Snake Man operates, where positioning Mega Man in the center of the room is the key to jumping over his slow, wide body. I like how Gemini Man lives up to his name and comes as a tag team, only firing a shot initially when Mega Man does. Top Man is the ultimate illustrator of how useful it is to slide now, with the extra speed it provides. The fundamentals of learning patterns and making sure Mega Man is in the right spot is all well and good here, not feeling at all compromised by the tough conditions required to make it, even with its lackluster responsiveness. I will say that the powers you collect are nowhere near as fun as the first 2 games, though. The Gemini laser is a moderately powerful attack that you can only fire one shot at a time. If it misses, its target bounces all around the room for a good while, preventing you from actually pausing the game until it disappears. It's okay. The needle cannon? It's just straight needle shots that honestly don't even feel better than the regular Mega Buster. Seriously, I tried to use it wherever I could, and it didn't feel like any substantial improvement. Spark Shock? It doesn't kill anybody, it just freezes them in place like the Ice Slasher from 1. Top Spin? You get the ability to defeat enemies up close and personal by spinning in the air. There's no range to it at all, you gotta bump into your enemies. And for regular baddies, it's not that bad. Against the parachute guys, against the top launchers, and the penguins, it's a valid strategy to take them out because you don't suffer any contact damage. You just bounce off after killing them and it doesn't use too much energy. It's when you're actually going up against the bosses that are weak to it that it becomes very annoying. Topspin doesn't bounce off of Shadow Man. You take contact damage when you touch the guy. Even worse, the game will just bug out sometimes and drain the entire energy bar. It misreads the invincibility frames and wastes more ammo, so you can find yourself with an empty tank way before the fight is over. My favorite abilities were definitely Magnet Missile and Shadow Blade. Magnet for its homing properties, and Shadow for basically being Timu Metal Blade. You can only fire one at a time, it has limited range, but at least you get to aim wherever you want. They're the two powers I mostly rely on, because honestly, Mega Man 3 probably has one of the weaker power selections of the series. It's also the last game to have an unorthodox weakness chain, like Needle defeats Snake, who defeats Gemini, who defeats Needle. These three bosses are basically a thruple. They operate independently of everyone else, meaning no matter who you take on, two bosses will be without their weaknesses. Don't make fun of my crude drawing. One thing Mega Man 3 definitely delivers on is the soundtrack. With 3 songs composed by Harumi Fujita and everything else by Yusaki Fujita, no relation, this game lives up to the amazing music of the last title. It's an incredibly catchy score that you can't help but sing along to. So I genuinely like all of the regular stages in this game. There's not a single level I don't enjoy. I don't find any of them to be a hassle or a pain. This game is really fun. But the developers decided that Mega Man 3 had to be bigger and better than its predecessors. So not only do we have the 8 stages as well as a castle, but they also included 4 extra levels as a little twist. The Doc Robot stages. These levels utilize the themes of 4 previous stages, but remix them in a way to be slightly harder. Shadow Man got some extra spikes. Spark Man took away a ladder or 2. Honestly, the biggest change is with Needle Man, which added a gigantic bottomless pit that only Rush Jet can get through. It's an okay section, but it never really considered how hard it gets if the player dies during it. None of the weapon energy items respawn. So unless you're jumping constantly, you better nail it on the first try. The stage changes aren't really the issue, it's the bosses themselves. The gimmick here is that the Doc Robot can use the fighting style of any master that it wants, and they have chosen to bring back every single boss from Mega Man 2. Quick Man, Wood Man, Metal Man, you name it, they're all back in the sequel in newer, more deadly frames. No, really, the Doc Robot sprites are huge and they move ridiculously fast. And the problem with being in a new game is that you don't have any of the old powers. I'll defeat Crash Man with air shoot. Oh, wait, I don't have that. What the hell's this guy weak to? And so inevitably, you're going to exhaust every option in your playbook until you finally find the winning formula. But because of the speed and contact damage, these end up being some of the hardest bosses in classic Mega Man. 2 per stage. And when you die to the first one... The checkpoint is not right before the boss. It's back to the start of the whole goddamn level. What in the world? This feels like another troubled development oversight because man is this punishing and you're likely to waste all of your energy tanks figuring this all out. Like, I'm a Megaman veteran and I still forget what all of these guys are weak to sometimes. And it doesn't matter if I know the weakness. Holy shit, Woodman was never this hard. The leaf shield is huge. It goes out so quick. How am I realistically supposed to dodge this thing? On the plus side, the second dock robot of each stage has a checkpoint, but too little too late. Games like 4, 5, and 6 do a much better job adding extra stages, and this is no doubt the worst part of the game. I often use a password to skip to the castle proper. Speaking of, once you defeat the dock robots, Breakman shows up for one last confrontation. He's added a new face mask and armor, which negates special weapons, but he's still using the same lame strategy as last time. He escapes before you can finish him off, at which point you realize this was all a distraction. Oh no! Right after we received the last element, Wily ran off with Gamma! Oh god, that noise is even worse. I can't believe Dr. Wily is still evil. I guess I missed all the signs, like his saucer being on the Japanese cover, or his skull castle being in the American one, or with the European— oh my god! Thanks for the nightmare fuel, Capcom! Not just for Wily, but that fucking gremlin that Megaman is morphing into. Why did you shoot Sparkman in the dick? Was that really necessary, Megaman? Either way, Dr. Wily has yet another castle to go through, but that's fine because it is so much better than his last one. I find that navigating this place wastes less item energy, only the final boss is impervious to the Mega Buster, and there's a lot of fun platforming going on here. That being said, it's definitely the easiest castle in the series. Why? They hand out energy tanks like it's free candy on Halloween. Oh, just jump from the ladder, there you go. Just slide under the crevice, that's not so bad. You're using Rush Jet anyway, you might as well just fly into the two energy tanks that are right next to each other. They must not think much of the player, as that hallway leads to a refight with the Yellow Devil. Yeah, he's back, but with 2 energy tanks, you really shouldn't get killed by the guy. The bosses are fun, they don't flash like crazy and cause seizures. Everything about this castle is just so much more comfortable. Dr. Wily comes back with yet another mecha, but like all the platforming, it is trivialized by Rush Jet. I'm sorry, please forgive you! I love that we're 3 games in and they keep finding ways to do Wily fakeouts. No, of course the main event has to be with Gamma. The so-called peacekeeping robot is our real final boss, and it can't shoot directly in front of itself. Its angled shots always miss the dead center, so you can stand right underneath him and pelt him with Shadow Blade. Then in the second phase, the cockpit is only weak to 2 things. Either the angled shots from the Search Snake, or you could just spin into him once. What the hell? Why was that so easy? Please forgive me? Oh god! Where's Dr. Wily? Oh no, too late. Megaman, you've regained consciousness. I found you lying here when I arrived. I wonder who brought you here. This whistle! It must have been Proto-Man. At this point, Megaman runs off while we get a list of the robots that Dr. Light has created. A reminder of all the enemies from Mega Man 1, finally explaining in 1990 what the hell these guys were made for. I mean, one has to wonder what the purpose of a Snake Man is, right? Anyway, he built Rock, Roll, and the first ever prototype robot, Proto-Man, the brother of Mega Man. Ooh, we've been battling family this whole entire time. What's left out of the English version is that this character had a faulty energy core and ran away from home. Essentially, his life was going to end really quickly because of that design flaw, and Proto just couldn't handle it. He runs away, only to eventually be found by Dr. Wily, who manages to repair and fix the problem. And figuring that a debt had to be repaid, Proto Man agreed to do Dr. Wily's bidding. He's a very enigmatic character that gets more breadcrumbs as the series goes on. In Japan, he goes by Blues, another musical flavor like rock and roll. He's the cool robot, the kind of guy who whistles, does something neat, and pieces out like he's got something better to do. He doesn't just have a visor on his helmet, he wears sunglasses underneath that visor. He's so cool. A shame that we saw the end of Dr. Wily, though. What? Saucer? No, that wasn't a saucer. That was a bird flying near the tree. Come on, guys. Dr. Wily's clearly dead. He's never coming back. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Mega Man 3. Another smash success, as this one would sell over 1 million units as well, all but guaranteeing that this wasn't a fluke, that Capcom needed to go all in on this franchise. I love how much it innovated by giving Mega Man more mobility, a cute doggo, and a new family member to butt heads with. It does have imperfections and little quirks that drag things down, but when it comes to the challenge and level design and the music and the graphics and everything, I do think it's an overall improvement. While it was a pain in the ass to work on, Keiji Inafune does owe a lot of his career to how he handled everything with this game. From this point onwards, he becomes the de facto producer and planner of the series, and you can bet your ass he didn't want any more headaches. Now that the vision is clearer than ever before, we have nothing but bright days ahead. But wait! This isn't the end of the video. Back in part 1, I described this series as a comprehensive look at the classic series. Well, you can't very well do that if you ignore all of the spin-offs. That's right, I'm not just looking back on the numbered games, I'm looking back on all of them! Nothing came out in between 1, 2, or 3, but by this point, Capcom realized they had a hit on their hands and started up the money-making machine. The Mega Man machine. So, they put a whole bunch of games on all kinds of platforms. So let's start off with something released in December of 1990. Probably the most unorthodox entry that will likely never be re-released. Mega Man on DOS. Okay, so there's a fascinating story behind this one. Believe it or not, computer games were very much a thing in the late 1980s, and being the forward, proactive company that Capcom was, they released a ton of stuff on that platform. Sidearms, Bionic Commando, Ghosts and Goblins, Trojan, even the original Street Fighter was on DOS before Street Fighter II even existed. So they were always courting Western programmers who had experience with computers. One of the people that was responsible for the Commodore 64 version of Street Fighter was a man named Steven Rosner. He made a whole bunch of games together with Capcom, and all the while was also making his own unofficial game as well. Mega Man. He was such a big fan of the series and wanted to make his own version of the game for home computers. But this was a personal passion project. Nobody at Capcom told him to do that. Anyway, at some point he told this to Capcom employee Joe Morisi, who eventually pitched the idea of turning his unofficial game into a real one. And that's really all there was to it. Rosner finished the game, allowed them to sell it in stores, and that became Mega Man on DOS. If you want the full detailed story about how this came to be, I highly recommend checking out the Gaming Historian's video on the subject. Like, he actually interviewed Steven Rosner in it, so you get straight from his mouth the circumstances surrounding this game. But yeah, Mega Man DOS was made by one guy. The sound effects, the graphics, the gameplay, absolutely everything, and with no assistance from Keiji Inafune or anybody on the Japanese side of Capcom. And how is it? Oh god. Mega Man, you look like you're having a stroke. In this entry, Dr. Wily has built some kind of evil supercomputer named Krork, and he invites Mega Man into his mecha fortress to try and stop him from conquering the world. And no, really, Mega Man gets invited via the security gates. In what is actually the first realized version of an intro stage. It's really just a small 20-second pathway, but it's littered with these vicious robo-dogs that tear up your health like it's nobody's business. You can try killing them, but then they just get replaced with a new one, and holy hell, this is brutal! Most people will tell you to bum rush for the exit and just take whatever damage, but none of them ever considered that maybe you should just, I don't know, walk the dog. Yeah, if you tiptoe in front of them and stay a close enough distance, they never lunge forward. So treat them like you would Pele the beloved dog from Sonic 06, and you'll be absolutely fine. Once you reach the doorway, you get thrown into the stage select screen, and yeah, there's only 3 robot masters in this game. Dynaman, Voltman, and Sonic Man. How have I made 2 Sonic 06 references already? As for which boss you should take on first, it really doesn't matter. They're all super easy. Now this game offers controller and keyboard support, but I couldn't find any modern gamepad that would actually work with this thing. And the keyboard controls, they leave a lot to be desired. You move left and right with the arrow keys, not WASD. You shoot with the spacebar. You jump by pushing J, because that's what the word starts with. And finally, you pause the game with F9 and can only select a certain power by pushing the letter associated with it. I'm sure the controller setup was a lot better because I don't know why Steven Rosner would leave keyboard controls in such a sorry state. Luckily, you can download this program called Joy to Key, and that allows you to match a PlayStation 5 controller with whatever keyboard function you want. I didn't have much of a problem after that. And check this out. It's responsive! More responsive than Mega Man 3! Anyway, this game is definitely a weird one. You'd think that Mega Man would be taking on a robot army, but this time around, Dr. Wily chose to rely on the natural world. Bats, frogs, rats, spiders, mosquitoes, fucking parrots. The kind of stock enemies you might find in any other spooky-themed platformer, you know. But that being said, they all drop health power-ups and weapon energy like any robot would, and the drop rate is identical to the NES games. They all die in a reasonable amount of shots, it's just that a good chunk of them are really tiny, and therefore need to be shot in a very specific way. You have to wait for the rats to stand up, wait for the frogs to jump. It's best to kill the spiders as they climb down their webs. These ants? You can't do shit to them until you get a certain power-up. Speaking of, the game has energy tanks, but some of them are hard to get to without powers, and I remember trying to get this one right here. Unfortunately, the explosions also hurt you, knocking you off that tiny little ledge. I'd love to use Rush Coil to get back up, but unfortunately, he's not in this game, even though he's on the front of the box for some reason. It would have also been helpful to have Rush for this alcove and Dynaman stage, where you fall in between the 2 pillars and oops, they're too high. I guess I'll just die. The background does not present itself in fixed screens. The map is fully loaded when you boot up a stage, and thus it is always scrolling with Mega Man. And sometimes it can be awkward when you hear turrets firing off, but can't exactly see them. But also, they're tiny and look like valve handles or something, so why would I assume those are cannons trying to shoot me? It's a flawed game, and it doesn't even have a great soundtrack. Seriously, no music at all. Just bleeps and bloops in total silence. For all these reasons, the game is something of a punching bag online. Certainly the angry video game nerd had a field day with just how bizarre this entry was. But you know, that being said, it's not the worst game I've ever played, and it certainly didn't cause any frustration that would get me screaming at the monitor. For the most part, I found the level design mostly harmless. Enemies drop health frequently, they're never positioned in such a way that damage is inevitable. The game has reappearing, disappearing blocks, but they don't really try to fake you out or anything. The levels aren't mazes, there were no confusing alternate pathways, it's all really straightforward. And then there's the bosses, who just aren't that challenging, not only because of their simple strategies, but also because they have no iframes. With no invincibility period to shrug off damage, you can lay into them with multiple shots for as long as you want. And hey, only one boss needs to be fought like this if you're using weaknesses. What the fuck was that? After beating the 3 robot masters, you go to Dr. Wily's tool shed? His garage? And then it's just straightforward hallways with boss refights, ending with a climactic battle against Dr. Wily in his Krork supercomputer, who can be picked off really easily from the stairway on either side of the room. This game was a cakewalk to go through, and it only took me 22 minutes to do so. Yeah, it's that short. It's easy, it goes by quick, it makes me laugh. How could I possibly hate this game? If anything, the fact that it was made by one guy in 1990 on those old-ass primitive computers, just for that alone, it's really impressive. You know, Steven Rosner didn't expect this to be put on store shelves, and I feel bad that a lot of people will never appreciate what he actually accomplished here. This is not the worst Mega Man game ever made. I'd rather play this than Mega Man X6. Hell, I'd rather play it over our next game. So Nintendo unveils the Game Boy, their monochrome LCD handheld device that will allow kids to play video games wherever they want. And like I said, Capcom is very proactive, so of course they joined in on the fun. With the success of Mega Man 2 and 3, the Blue Bomber was all but guaranteed. And so we have Mega Man, Dr. Wily's Revenge, or as it's known in Japan, Rockman World. Mega Man, once again you must save the world because Dr. Wily just won't stop! This time, the unbelievably insane scientist has restored 8 of the robot masters you've previously mashed into metal marmalade. Oh goody, leftovers. And yeah, when you start the game, you're presented with 4 of the 6 robot masters from Mega Man 1. Think of the Game Boy games as remixes of the originals. It's like, yeah, you're taking on Fireman again, but his stage is completely different. Now it has those flamethrowing guys from Mega Man 2. Iceman features new gimmicks like these blocks which fall apart after a while, and sometimes icicles fall down from the ceiling and you need to use them to reach higher places. The bosses mostly operate the way you remember, but there are differences. Like, I wouldn't recommend taking on Cutman first. He's been buffed. He has a much bigger health bar, and with the tighter, cramped arena, he's actually harder to dodge this time around. No, this time around, I'd recommend Fireman, since it's really easy to do this. Now Cut defeats Elec, which beats Ice, which beats Fire, and since all of those weaknesses are still intact, I'll have to assume Firestorm defeats Cutman since we no longer have a super arm. And that turns out to be the case. And this is all fine, right? Like, if you can't spend the time to make an entirely new cast of enemies, then this remix method is probably the way to do it. But now I have to get into the nitty-gritty, and that's where I feel Dr. Wily's Revenge really falls short. Whereas the first 3 games were developed in-house at Capcom, this project was outsourced to Minakuchi Engineering, a completely different team with very different philosophies. And not only that, but they're dealing with the limitations of the Game Boy. So Mega Man is a bigger sprite in comparison to everything else. He moves slower, and his lemons are too. Look how pitiful these shots are. Compared to the NES games, it's like night and day. And then Wily's Revenge decides to have the kind of level design that is very stop and go. Like, your health bar feels shorter. It feels like enemies drain it so much faster and everything can kill you rather quickly. You can't just bum rush through without taking lots of damage. So you stop. You take the time to fight the armored Sniper Joe, and the fire-throwing guy shows up and you stop to kill him too. Reappearing blocks, fire bars, elect beams, circling scissors. The design is so methodical and clinical. In general, I don't think the level design is all that great. Like, why am I getting punished for choosing one pathway over the other? Why would you hit me with an electric bar without showing me that it was there first? The game gets a little quicker when you start acquiring more powers, but even then, look at the drill hallways. This was a gimmick in Mega Man 2 for both Metal Man and Wily's Castle. I didn't have a problem with it then. Leaf Shield could tear through them in one hit and they didn't come back too quickly. But in Wily's Revenge, Jesus Christ, they never stop coming. I tried using the Firestorm shield, but it wasn't an insta-kill, meaning if I run through, I'd still get damaged. So you take slow, plodding, tippy-toe movements through these hallways that go on for way too long. All the while thinking, the checkpoint better be after this, because this is really annoying. Is the game difficult? Yeah, it is. But that's not really my issue with it. Personally, I just think it's really boring. I don't like replaying these levels. And this is not a problem with future games of this series. I generally like the Game Boy Mega Man games. I can't wait to replay 4 and 5. But Wily's Revenge? It's the worst one on this handheld by far. It's also weird how the 8 robots are laid out because, okay, we took on 4 at first, right? Well, after defeating them, we go to Wily's castle, go through a stage, and then find the boss teleporter room. Okay, it must be the boss rush. This is where I refight everybody. No! This is where the remaining robot masters are! Bubble Man, Heat Man, Flash Man, and Quick Man are all fought here one singular time. You even get their powers after defeating them. Powers that you can only use in the final stage because the game's almost over! What sense does that make? But one of these powers will be really unique, because after defeating the 4 robot masters, we get introduced to something new. Inafune pitched the idea that if this game's going to be remixed content, it should still have something that's really unique. Something that only Dr. Wily's Revenge can call its own. This is the birth of the Mega Man Killers. Exclusive robot masters who only exist in the Game Boy games. Introducing MKN-001, Anchor. A golden robot who uses a plasma sword that absorbs all of the power from Mega Man's Buster Shots to fire off his own powerful projectile. It's a unique fight, there's no energy tanks in the game to cheese it, and when you win, you actually get an ability for doing so. The Mirror Buster, a sort of counter weapon that absorbs enemy projectiles and fires back at them. That's really special, that's really cool. Too bad we're at the final stage of the game and we barely get to use it. Especially since it's necessary to beat Dr. Wily at the end, so what the hell? So yeah, folks, that's Dr. Wily's Revenge. It is a game that exists. It's okay. Easily the weakest of the Game Boy games, not nearly as exciting as the numbered entries, and look, I'm just gonna say it. I'd rather play Mega Man DOS. I'm not kidding, send me all your hate mail. This game is average as hell and I don't care. Oy. This truly was the era of the Gremlin. Hey, thank you everyone for watching, and a big special thank you to my special guest, SomecallmeJohnny. He's been doing this YouTube thing just as long as I have, and let's face it, He's a lot better at it than I am. Hell, he'll probably release 4 or 5 videos before I get to Mega Man 4. So please, give him your subscription. He's the best. And, yeah, I'll see you next time.